Hey guys, Zach here. So, 3 months ago, I made this video called I Spent a Day with Femboys, and to the video's credit, that's exactly what I did. And at the end of the video, I said to be continued in part 2. That's because I gained over 2 hours of footage during these sessions and really couldn't compress them down into 20-minute worth of video. So I decided to break the video up into 2 parts and then finish work on part 1, which I then uploaded. I had every intention to finish work on part 2 in a timely manner and upload it. However, then I became a senior in high school. As people who have attended college before know, college application work is an absolute nightmare, and I was absolutely swamped with work for the better part of 3 months. This week I have finally found myself with some time to work on this project, and I do want to apologize for the long wait. I owe it to all of you to finish this part off, so without further ado, please enjoy the part. And again, sorry for the long wait. Enjoy. Well, in your view, in your personal view, what is the intersectionality between being a femboy and like one's sexuality, you know? Because I feel that there's like a sense on the internet that somebody who like dresses in this manner like must be gay and must like men or something. But is there merit to this statement, or is it largely a misconception?
I think there's like a saying, or maybe it's not a saying. It's just kind of a general knowledge thing that a lot of stereotypes have like a grain of truth to them, and it's definitely true that any femboy I've interacted with on Twitter, like I think every single one of them so far has either been gay or bisexual. Usually bisexual. Like that's where you like that's like the most common thing that you see with femboys, and it makes sense, right? Because they have masculine traits and feminine traits. So I would say, yeah, there's definitely intersection between sexuality and in how you dress sometimes, but it's not always true. That's just it's just all over the place, really.
I think it's yes and no. There's a higher concentration of, LGBT QIA plus whatever. I think that's how that thing goes. Within femboy circles, but I don't think oh, they're a femboy, they must be gay, is really a good metric. But I do know from like when I was like, oh, everyone here must be gay. Right. So it's I don't blame people for thinking that, because I thought it too at one point.
Yeah, so in that same sort of vein about sexuality and gender, in your view, what is the difference between a trans girl and a femboy? Are these two things mutually exclusive, or is there some overlap? What do you think?
It's gonna depend really on how the person themselves feel. So like, if somebody who's male who's born male transitions and becomes a trans female, depending on how they feel, they're not going to want to be referred to as a femboy at all. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, femboy really does mean that you identify more on the male side of things, as far as I can tell. Okay. But there are people who would disagree with me on that, so it's really just going to depend on what the person wants to be called. Like if a trans female feels like, you know what, maybe I don't identify completely as female, maybe I'm a femboy, like they should get to that's fine too, like
just let people do what they want to do, essentially.
I would say, and I know a lot of like trans girls that also call themselves femboys. So like, I don't know if they are mutually exclusive, because but at the same time, I feel like they are and they aren't, because when you say you're a femboy, usually that means that you identify as a guy, but you have like feminine aspects or traits, or you like to have like a feminine side that you show off, or something like that. And then like when you say trans, like if you're male to female trans, which is we're usually talking about here. Ooh, it is confusing how I might put this, because I'm not trans, so maybe someone like that might be better to ask this question to. But like I would say a lot of them have like more dysphoria about how they look. Like their masculine features really cause them anxiety and things like that, whereas like a femboy, I would say usually don't have dysphoria about their masculine traits as much. So, but there are lots of femboys that end up like being trans too, like as in like they later, as they kind of like get more comfortable with other people online and stuff, that they transition to being like full on trans. So there's kind of like a really blurry line there. But I think just generally femboys are a bit more androgynous, whereas trans females are more like traditional feminine.
I'd say usually they're mutually exclusive, and the only case where there would be overlap is if a trans person identifies themselves as a femboy, I'd say. I think there is some overlap, but it's not inherent, I'd say. Um, one of my friends, actually, they realized they were trans through being a femboy, and they're not a femboy anymore, they're just trans. And so I think for many it can be a stepping stone to realizing their true self, I guess. But I don't think that, I think that for some is a misconception that like trans girls and femboys are the same, when they are, I would like to say, quite different. Actually, I would say quite different, because I definitely don't, I absolutely do not feel like a girl in any way. I don't want to be a girl. I want to be a femboy. So,
Excellent. Okay, so you personally, how long have you been a femboy? Like a year, 2 years, couple months?
It's been like a year and a half. So
Okay.
I'm pretty new to the scene, I guess. There have been lots of people that have been here for longer than me.
Like just a little over a year, I would say.
it's like 3 or 4 years of time actually doing it, and then 4 and 5 was like 5 years ago I was like, man, I want to do this, and then 3 to 4 years ago I actually started.
Okay, and over that amount of time, I guess a year and a half, and maybe even before then, have you seen the social climate trends toward more tolerance for femboys and LGBTQ+, or have you seen the opposite?
I think definitely there is, I would say, more tolerance for it, especially with like like the legalization of gay marriage was like a big thing, like the Supreme Court decision or whatever that happened. Um, and I feel like that's kind of indicative of how people feel. And even if I ask really conservative people that I know, like people, because everyone has like a bunch of conservative family members all the time, like hardcore, like right, even they will say something like, as long as you're not bothering me, I don't care like who you want to sleep with or how you want to dress or like stuff like that. So I feel like everyone's kind of being more tolerant of it, and femboys especially lately I feel like have been getting more popular. Like it was like an underground kind of like thing, I feel like maybe like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and now it's like more mainstream, I would say. So, because I know a lot of people that didn't know the term before know what it means now, and I think a lot of people are kind of actually liking the aesthetic too. They're kind of digging it for one reason or another. Like maybe they're attracted to the idea, or maybe they're happy that like guys are kind of branching out a bit more. So I have no something like that, I would say.
I think it really depends. Because in some places it's gotten a lot worse. In some places it's gotten a lot better. I know, like, from my experience on iFunny, there it got significantly worse, and I left. And then, on Twitter, I think tolerance is, generally better. You'll find pockets that are just not great. Like, I mean, that just happens. There's not much you can do about it. But I'd say, depending on where you go, yes, it has gotten better. But, I mean, it's likely, some places just become an echo chamber. So either they get, significantly worse, or they'll be isolated and just be like, oh, it's a haven. When in reality, they're isolating themselves.
Well, there's always going to be controversies, and there's always going to be drama in the community and things like that. But as a whole, I'd say it's pretty cool to see how things have actually improved. There was a point where in the femboy community, I would see tweets like, if you are in any way female, you can't be a femboy. Like, you're not allowed being a femboy, kind of thing. And that's changing. Like, if people who are biologically female, if they want to call themselves femboys, why the fuck not? Like, who cares? Like, and so that's one really nice thing that's changed. Is there's a lot more tolerance towards who can call themselves a femboy.
So, okay. So, like, the definition of femboy used to be very rigid, but over the years you've seen it, like, expand. So.
Yeah, there's been, like, more acceptance, definitely.
Okay. As
it's become more popular and, like, more common term in society, I think.
So, as you yourself are a femboy, would you consider yourself part of the LGBTQ plus crowd? And would you see, anyone who identifies as a femboy, them being part of that as well? Or
definitely, yeah. Because, like, imagine it's 1960 and you're going around calling yourself a femboy, like, that just wouldn't. I would say anything that doesn't conform to, like, gender normatives from, like, that point in time today it has to be considered LGBTQ because it's just not the norm for the past 100 years.
Right. So this sort of deviation from the norm is kind of what defines the LGBTQ plus.
In a way, yeah. I think that's sort of what most people would think in their heads is, like, if they see a femboy, if they think the word femboy, they're just going to make that natural association to LGBTQ as well.
I'd like to, but I don't think so. Like, I feel like for a lot of people, it's kind of just I think for a lot of people, it's this is gonna sound rude. I don't mean it to be rude, but I think for many people, it's sort of a path to self-exploration and sort of a phase. And for others, it's just like, no, this is it. This is me. And so I feel like it can be, but isn't necessarily part of it. But it definitely has involvement from many members of the LGBT plus community. But I don't think it is its own, like, I don't think it will be its own, like, letter in the acronym anytime soon.
Yeah, I would say so. I think if they aren't really already because of their, like, sexuality, like, saying if they're just a femboy and they were completely straight and that was the only thing, like, non-conforming about them, I would say, yeah, they should fall under, like, the plus and the LGBTQ plus.
Yeah. Okay. So, going off of the talk of femboy culture, do you think that femboy culture has gone quote unquote mainstream? And if so, is this a good thing for the femboy community, or is it more negative?
I think it has gone. I think there's more recognition, so therefore, yes. I do think it's sort of a double-edged sword. It's good and bad. Because it's like, for me, I think it would have been more helpful if I knew more about it, because it has been an avenue for me sort of finding how I want to be as a person, or like how I want to express myself, you know. Um, but it can also lead to just kind of a ton of creeps preying on vulnerable people. Just trying to sort of figure out who they are and share themselves, I guess. And I do know that there is, I hope it's changing, but I do know there's like a misconception of just femboys, of like horny bottoms who, are like sex starved. And I think that's a bad stereotype, because I think that's pretty harmful. And I mean, it's definitely true in some cases, but I think there's a lot more to it than just that. It's like, there's a lot of people just being like, I enjoy, wearing feminine clothing and doing makeup and expressing myself in this way. And so I think if that part is the part that becomes more mainstream, that's a good thing. Whereas if the sort of, I guess, fetishized misconception of femboys becomes more mainstream, I think that's bad.
I think it'll be a positive thing at the end of the day, because I feel like I think it's kind of funny that a lot of femboys, will get people questioning their sexuality. So you'll see a lot of like people that thought they were straight or something saying like in the comments like you made me gay, or like you made me bi, or something like that. So it's kind of, I think it's a good thing in a way, because because the more popular femboys are, like I didn't even know that I could be a femboy, or like what the like I wasn't even like an option in my head, I guess, until I like knew the term, right? So the more popular it gets, the more people are gonna like know about the culture and maybe get interested in it, and so maybe we'll create more femboys. This is what the liberals want. No, but it's just kind of like something like that. I think it's a good thing, and there are people out there like I know Finster, he's a streamer. Like Johnny Bullets, and like Sneaky, he's a League streamer that does like cross play stuff like that. I feel like they're kind of like the mainstream people that are kind of like getting it out there, and it's in like 10 years or something, I feel like everyone's gonna know what a femboy is, and there's gonna be a lot of femboys. I might be wrong, but that's what it seems like is gonna happen.
I would see it as a positive thing. If anything, there needs to be more representation in popular media. I would say one of the biggest problems right now is places like Fox News and stuff like that. The only time you'll hear about a femboy is in a negative light. Yeah. There's I doubt that there's a news station, even besides, forget Fox News. Like, I doubt there's any organization that's willing to even show the imagery in any sort of positive light. And so I think that's a big problem. As far as like games like Genshin Impact and like pop culture and things like that, I'm not actually that aware. Like I'll be honest with you, like I'm kind of an old man in that way. I'm just doing my own thing.
So, like from, I guess, your so-called old man perspective, so have you seen this shift towards the mainstream, or have you just mainly been, I guess, not secluded? Not really.
Not really. Not as much as I'd like to see. I'd
Okay.
like to see, the concept of a femboy become more normalized and not necessarily always sexualized.
Okay. In your opinion, what is the largest issue that faces the general femboy community?
Ooh, I would say like it's a self-esteem issue, and I feel like if anyone else you're interviewing doesn't say that, then they probably just haven't, like, I don't know, thought about it yet, like thought to say it. Because there are a lot of people that are very insecure about how they look. Like and there are a lot of people that really want to be more feminine, but like are like maybe naturally have like more masculine features, and that like really bothers them, which is kind of like a bit like dysphoria. So it's kind of like similar to a trans type of emotional problem, but maybe not as strong sometimes as that, I would say. And that's kind of like why you see, if you look around Twitter, Instagram, you see a lot of femboys wearing like masks and stuff. And part of it, yeah, is to keep their identity like a secret, because some people don't want like, you know, their coworkers or their friends to like find their Twitter or something. But more often than that is usually because people have like more masculine faces, and they kind of want to keep it, you know, like hidden, because it's something that they're a bit insecure about. And you know, like you all, and even the people that I would say, and a lot of people would say like are really feminine, that like you could comment on their Twitter post and be like, you're really cute and beautiful or something like that, and they're gonna say something like, no, I'm not, you know. So like it doesn't really matter like how you look. It seems like most people, or most femboys, are gonna be unsatisfied with their level of femininity, I would say.
Oh, that's a good question. I think the largest issue that faces femboys is the fetishization from the outside of femboys. I know there's there's a good amount of femboys who, you know, do sex work, and that's fine and whatever. And honestly, that's good on them for making money doing it. Like, that's cool. But I think a big problem, and I feel like the problem comes from outside, not from within, really. It might come from within, but I don't believe it does. But I think I think the biggest issue is that femboys are seen as sort of by many, as sort of a niche fetish, when it's really, you know, I wouldn't consider it that. I don't view it that way. Like, I think femboys are cute, and I'm like, sweet, cute boys, or cute femboys, or cute, you know, non-binary people, or, you know. But I think the biggest issue with femboys, and actually I'd say that's just a larger issue with just surrounding LGBT issues, is fetishization. Because I think the fetishization actually significantly impacts minors, which is super dangerous, and that's just not okay. Because, like, I know there's a lot of, you know, femboys who are just like, here's a picture of me hanging out in my femboy drip, I guess. And, you know, they'll be like, you know, 17 or 16, and it's just like, it's just clothes. It's not revealing or anything, but there'll be people in the replies who are noticeably older than them thirsting after them, and it's really, like, uncomfy. And I think, yeah, that's a huge issue, is, you know, the fetishization and how it impacts, you know, those who are not of age, and how they can become sort of subject to creepy online behavior. Yeah.
So if there was, you know, a femboy who, you know, was a minor and is starting to explore themselves in that way, what would be your biggest, like, advice to them?
Find a group of friends who, like, have your back, like a group of people who, like, you can really trust, and also literally block anybody who gives you the wrong vibe, who's, like, you know, like, some people might seem like they're just being nice, but, like, this is sort of coming from experience in those Discord servers, is like, there's some people who, you know, curate Discord servers who are there to sort of prey on others. And I mean, I don't know if that's still the case. I mean, I bet it is, because, you know, nothing's black and white. But it's, I mean, those are the things I was introduced into, were places that were not great for minors, and were, you know, like, minors being pressured to post pictures they didn't want to, that were basically child porn, essentially, which, you know, thankfully get deleted basically immediately by mods who had a brain. But, like, it's definitely, you have to, if you put yourself online, you have to be careful with who you interact with for sure.
The biggest problem is just like probably honestly what the biggest issue right now that we could maybe fix before we even move on to like some of the other maybe larger issues, which is like, you know, tolerance and things like that, social acceptance. Before we even get to that point, as a community, we should really come up with a definition, like an agreed definition, maybe have a vote or something, and submit it to Webster's. Or like honestly, because there's no better way than to solidify your position than to get what you want, essentially. Because if nobody like can even agree on what the community is or what's happening in it or what the heck we are, then we open ourselves up to interpretation. And so that's a big problem right now. It's like a lot of people don't know how to interpret what the heck is going on in the femboy community. And so yeah, we need a simple, definitive. We need to be recognized on like the main stage. Like, you know, these are all. This is the largest issue right now. It's just
right. The definition.
Yeah, I would say so. In many ways, just not being able to agree concisely.
Okay.
You know what the word means.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess for you personally, with this definition of a femboy, like, what definition would you like to see as being defined as a femboy? Like,
I haven't really thought about it. I should spend some time like writing down maybe like, different phrases and see what you know, phrase could be improved in what way. But basically any male who wants to exhibit female characteristics freely.
Okay, yeah. And then this is just a you know, shoot by the hip definition. You haven't had time to think about this or ponder it for weeks and months, but okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, no, and that's like a super like, yeah, it like saying any male who wants to, like, that's already so wrong. I already screwed up. It's just yeah, anybody who identifies as male but wants to exhibit female characteristics.
Yeah. So, do you broadening our scope to the world? Do you think that the world in general is trending more towards tolerance of femboys and LGBTQ plus people? Or do you have a more pessimistic view of the world?
Shit, the world? That's I don't know. Whoa, I got a lot of things to think about, and I haven't really thought about how the world would view femboys. I mean, there are a lot of femboys from a lot of different places in the world. Like, one of my friends, you can find him on Twitter too. He's Saudi Arabian, and yeah, okay. Well, I guess yeah. If you've ever seen him, his name is like Lime on Twitter, and so he's got like a few friends, I would say, from like different parts of the world too, like over in like east of Europe, and stuff, that are also femboys. And in his country, like Saudi Arabia, I know they actually, I think it's punishable by death to be gay. I don't quote me on that one, but I'm pretty sure last time I checked, you could potentially be executed for it, or like maybe like executed for something else, but the real reason being gay or something. But like he said, like even in his country, that there are so many like feminine people, trans people, and like just LGBT people in general, that he basically said almost every guy he's seen has hit on him or someone else that he knew at some point in time. So like, even though these countries are kind of like maybe they seem like they're intolerant towards it, like the people are kind of, you know, as long as they have like free access to media and the internet, are kind of like ignoring these things, and the government maybe might like the locals police are gonna like turn a blind eye because it's not really a big issue. So I think like overall the world is becoming more tolerant of these types of people, because I feel like that probably wouldn't have been true like 20 or 30 years ago, right? Like Saudi Arabia, you probably would have definitely gotten executed if anyone even like found out. But don't quote me on that one again. I don't really know how it was, but that's probably what it seems like.
I think for now it's going to be an uphill battle. I think there might be a period coming up where we're going to face potentially more hate than we've ever faced before, because that's just what happens as you enter the mainstream, you know. So, but I think that if you know, we can get organized, if we can maybe start, if somebody can start an organization and you know, kind of unify the voices and maybe get some donations and start lobbying for different things, like, you know, to be recognized by as a, you know, to get Femboy actually be like a word that gets added to the English language, like that would be huge. And those are the things that need to happen right now. Like that's basically it. Like with everything else that has happened in the LGBTQ community, that's what it's taken so far. So it's not going to be any different.
Okay, yeah. And then finally, if there is one thing you wish for people to know about femboys and femboy culture, what would that thing be?
I don't really think that there's anything I would want them to know about the culture, other than maybe it's just they're just normal people just trying to be themselves, and just there's nothing like wrong with any of us, you know, like I would say for doing this. It's more of like just a form of self-expression like anything else. And I think people should try to be open-minded to the idea, and maybe talk to some of us, like if there's any, I don't know, problem, or you don't feel that it's a thing that should be happening, like a trend that should be happening. Like I would just say, like, maybe like talk to someone that is a femboy, and then you would see kind of that it's really just all about self-expression and, you know, just having fun.
We just want to be loved. That's all.
Well, heartwarming answer, I suppose. And
I wish people would know it's just people being themselves. Like they're just I don't know. You know, when you're just like, you're feeling yourself, you're having a good time. Like you're just like, look at me, I feel great. I feel like a lot of, you know, I think like that's a lot of what Femboys is it's like, hey, I'm doing this thing that makes me happy and makes me feel good in like a emotional way. It's like, I don't know, I wish people would just like, you know, they're just people. We're just people, and we're enjoying ourselves in, you know, and expressing ourselves in a way we feel comfortable doing. But
yeah, all right. Okay, that brings us to the end of our interview. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to come talk with me. Where can people find you?
On my Twitter, at FemDreamy, and that's it. That's the only place. So
yeah,
I post once or twice a month. So
awesome.
But, yeah.
Okay. Well,
my posting's really inconsistent. So
yeah. All
but
right.
it's you know, it's like, you know, when you have a good day, you're like, sweet, I'm gonna share this. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, talk about not posting. I haven't posted in like a couple months, so
Yeah.
it's all right. But
So my Twitter is @FemBenji, and my Instagram is femboy.bb. And those are the two. And I would also encourage like anyone that really wants to like get into being a femboy or something. Well, to start, maybe like a Twitter and then interact with people on there if that's something that you can handle. And then like Johnny Bullet Seeds got his Discord server and his Instagram. He's always giving people tips, and there's a lot of other like femboys and feminine people that interact with each other there. So you can also find me there. I talk there sometimes too. So that's about it.
Yeah, on Twitter, my handle is floofness2. Yeah, that's pretty much where you're gonna find me. That's like pretty much the only place I'm hanging out. So.
All right, yeah. So if you head on over, I suppose. All right, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for speaking with me. It means a lot. And
Yeah, thank you too.
I suppose this will conclude the interview. So thanks so much.
All right, take care.
Hey y'all, it's Zach. Thank you so much for watching the video. This has been a frankly huge project for me, and honestly I'm so glad that I had to drive to complete it, even if it's 6 months late. As I said, I have a ton of college work, and of course when editing, my editing software decided to just completely freak out on me, and I lost multiple video files, and it was just a huge mess. But in the end, I managed to put together this video that I'm really proud of. So yeah, I'm really excited for what the new year will bring. Thank you so much for sticking by me, and well, as I always say, I will see ya when I see ya. Thanks so much.